up, people? Welcome to the Doing Everything Different podcast. I'm your host, Devin Lars. And if you are watching this, you can see it's a different background. And if you're listening to this, you can probably tell the audio is going to be a little different. I am currently in Seattle, Washington right now. We had some technical difficulties with the podcast and our software that we use. We were scheduled to record 2 episodes before I left for this trip, but we couldn't make it work, so we had to reschedule it. And so we finally, I think we got the problem solved and fixed, and had to make some adjustments. And so I am recording this while I'm on this trip. And so wanted to make sure that, I guess this episode, just even thinking about what I was going to talk about for this episode, is around sometimes things don't go according to plan, and you have to be able to adjust and be willing to find the revisions that you need to make or provisions that you need to put in place to be able to execute on the stuff that's going to be done. And so this isn't the best quality. This isn't the usual set. This is a change up from what it is. But I think from the topic standpoint, this is a perfect example to showcase that sometimes, things aren't going to go perfect. Things aren't going to be according to plan, and you have to adjust and be able to maneuver, right? Things will always go wrong, but you have to really be able to think about how you respond, and that's all that matters. So prime example, I'm out here on this trip in Seattle. We had a client event that we had, and so I had a bunch of meetings set up for different companies that we're working with. One of them being Starbucks and going to their headquarters, and another new client that we onboarded. And so we had an event, we delivered some stuff, everything went really well. There were some issues, 2 little small minor issues that I ended up having to fix and come up with a solution while I was here. I ended up having to go to like 2 different FedEx locations to figure it out. I had my team working from where they were, calling and trying to schedule and organize stuff at the FedEx locations, but we got it done. It wasn't perfect, but we were able to adjust and to be able to set it up. And I think so many times in business and just in life in general, I think it's the human experience, right? Things never or hardly ever go according to plan. And so to be able to adjust and figure out different ways of how to kind of show up and find a solution is the best way that you can look at stuff. And I remember I've talked about this several times, but I used to always, when I was coming up, focus on the problem. And my business partner at the time would always come up with like solutions and stuff like that and fix stuff. And I remember when I was 19, just asking him, like, how do you keep finding ways of how to get out of it? He was like, well, you focus on the problem and that's all you focus on, versus me, I'll think about what the problem is and then I try to go straight into finding a solution. And I remember when he told me that just, it changed my perspective on everything. So thinking about how, we've built the business from where I was at 19 to where I am today at 36, most of everything that I've learned from that has always been being able to adjust and find solutions. And I think that a lot of times we get caught up in the problem and the challenge of stuff versus being able to look for and find a solution. And oftentimes that I found out that the solution that you find a lot of times ends up being better than what you originally planned. And so just being open to be able to understand and go with the flow of things, because there's only so much stuff so many things that you can control. That was one of my last episodes that I talked about in terms of like focusing on the things you can control and letting go of the things that you can't. And I think that so many times in life we get thrown off with the stuff that we can't control. And so, I just think that is something that has truly transformed our situation, our life, our business, finding solutions and being able to provide value. And so wanted to hop on here and kind of just talk about that. I've committed to making an episode, the team and I, every single Monday, and to be able to drop it and to be able to provide a value into whatever content that we go out. And sometimes, hey, this may have to be recorded on site and in location in a different area. But it's okay because next week we're going to be right back on the scheduled program. And sometimes it's just about that consistency. You're not going to be on 100% of the time, and it's not going to be perfect 100% of the time, but it's about showing up. It's about being consistent. It's about being able to adjust and adapt and find solutions. And yeah, it's been pretty crazy these last couple weeks for just for me, last month and a half, 2 months for the company, and just everything that we're doing is pretty crazy of how things are really coming into place. This was a very, very successful trip. Um, I've been kind of I've been getting more active on my Instagram stories to try to document and show the process of what we're doing. Um, and I think I've been doing a pretty good job at like really showcasing the behind the scenes, and then also showcasing like how things happen and kind of like our philosophy of things. So when things come into place, we're like, okay, cool. I like break it down of like, this is what I learned from this situation, or trying to show the challenges. Like I posted talking about the FedEx locations and going to the different FedEx locations and like, hey, look, you can't always just post the good stuff. You have to post the things that, go wrong as well, because it happens. It's going to happen. It's just in any type of business that you have, things are going to go wrong. And nobody expects you to be perfect, but it's just how do you respond to those mistakes? Do you take accountability for it? Do you try to find a solution? Do you go above and beyond to make it happen? Do you spend extra money and lose money on stuff to make it right? There's been so many projects that we've had to do that on where we didn't make any money, or we lost a lot of money to save the relationship or to learn or to grow. And I think so many times as entrepreneurs, we're afraid of doing that. And I understand, as small businesses, you have to figure out cash flow and your money, and, you got bills to pay and different things like that. Um, but sometimes we can get too short sighted or short term, thinking too much in the short term versus the long term. And I could just tell you from what we're experiencing now, what we've experienced in our whole business up to this point, is you have to think about and play the long game. You have to do that because the short term is going to come and go. And I understand that you have to play the short term because that's what's, you know, there right now in front of you. But that's going to pass, and it's going to pass soon because it's short term. The long term of where you're headed and where you're going, sometimes you have to look past the chaos of what's going on in the short term to be able to look at the long term to see, okay, we're going to get past this, but once we get past this, where are we going to go? And if you let the short term clog your or take your attention off of the long term, once you get past that short term, you're going to be kind of lost and kind of at square one. And then you're going to have to keep restarting at that short term. You're always going to be in the short term mindset and thinking of that stuff. So it's really this like unique balance of being able to manage the short term, but think long term. And so that's kind of what we've been on. That's the energy we've been on. That's the vibe we've been on. And, it's been working. Some major things happen on this last trip for us. I had one of the, I would say, biggest, best meetings I've ever had in my career in business. This past uh, this past week with an executive um, at Starbucks, and so it was just a really cool experience, and I think it's going to be a pretty crazy ride these next few months, just with everything that's going on within our agency, and so again, I just everything that we've learned, everything that didn't work for us, I just want to share and put it out because I'm like, shit, I went through all this pain. I might as well push it out and hopefully it can help somebody else. And not all of it, of course, is going to apply to you, but hopefully there's something that can help somebody that can pull and take some of the stuff from our stories and the stuff that I've learned. So if you haven't or you're not following me on Instagram, like I said, if you're interested in the behind the scenes and the kind of the day to day stuff, I'm posting and very active on my Instagram stories. So you can follow me at Devin Lars. And yeah, just trying to, like I said, show up, provide as much value as possible, and continue the momentum in the process of everything. And so I'm really excited about doing everything different. I'm excited about the evolution of this podcast and the content. I'm very, very excited about soon dropping merchandise and creating that whole thing, and then and bringing it into phase two. We're doing everything different. We have a lot of stuff, some really cool stuff planned. We have some really cool guests lined up that I think is going to bring a ton of value to this audience and on this platform. And so I'm forever grateful. I'm appreciative. I hope you all are doing well, and I will see you guys in a minute. Peace.